Welcome back to the channel. It's a 2,000-point match between my Harlequins and Dark Angels. We rolled a scouring with frontline assault deployment. Let's take a look at the army lists. Please bear in mind my summary of the Dark Angels is only very rough, and I might have got the characters wrong, plus I haven't noted special weapons etc. Oh, I should mention, the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that my Farseer is actually a warlock.
Yeah, well, I got 'em cheap, didn't I?
The bulk of our armies face off across from one another. My dire Avengers are hiding behind the building there, and his Inceptors are waiting to deep strike. On the far left of the table, our Flyers are positioned opposite each other. His Dark Talon is also supported by the 6 spikes. I haven't quite finished painting or basing my Hemlock yet, but I have to say it's quite possibly one of my favorite models to paint, ever. I've enjoyed every second of the process, and I normally frickin' hate painting. Okay, so let's get into the battle. I finished deploying first, but Dark Angels secured the first turn. The Bikes and Storm Raven move up extremely aggressively. Over on the other side of the table, the majority of his army moves and advances, even the Dreadnought. You can't see it in this pic, but 10 TAC Marines move onto the upper floor of the building in the top right. In the Razorback are 5 veterans and, I believe, a master. I'm not mega familiar with Dark Angels, so hopefully I got that right. His Primaris Librarian gets a version off on one of my bike units. Next up, the shooting phase. Oh boy, I was not looking forward to this. Getting thinned out before they've moved is not good news for Quins. His Predator shot my Shadowseer's transport, but, due to lightning-fast reactions and my 4-up and Vun, only 1 wound slipped through. That multiplied into 5, but it still left him 1 wound shy of scoring a first blood kill. Elsewhere, the gunship and bikes targeted my Hemlock, but they rolled pretty poorly and it only suffered 3 wounds altogether. I think this happened before the Predator shot, otherwise I'm sure they would have tried to finish off the transport. Well, other than the Razorback, it transpired that there was no other shooting to weather, as his troops had advanced. I got off very lightly in the end, then, my turn 1. And I could see several seemingly easy routes to neutralize most of the major 1K threats. The central bike unit moves up to square off against a tac squad, and the right unit moves in front of the Terminators. My Warlord's transport has an absurd 28-inch move, and it zips behind the Terminators, meaning the clowns inside can level their fusion pistols at the Librarian. My Warlord then disembarks, thanks to his Warlord trait, and jigs his way to behind the Tactical Marines. The Solitaire disembarks and blitzes, and makes his way towards the tac squad which was obscured from your view by the central building. His transport, and the Hemlock, decide to pick on the Predator. Finally, the troop which were in the wounded transport fancy their chances against the bikes, so they jump out, and the transport retreats to a safer location. Combined smite and shooting from the Hemlock, and fusion from the transport, easily melts the Predator. Other than that smite, I don't think I got anything else through in the psychic phase. The rightmost bikes blow up the Dreadnought, with their gnarly haywire cannons. With 2 of the big vehicular threats eliminated, I kind of don't care too much about the Razorback, so the second unit of bikes actually dumps their haywire shots into the Terminators, killing 1. Bit of a waste, but I really didn't want to risk fluffing against them with the impending bike charge. I then get a bit carried away, and fire my fusion pistols at them from the transport which was supposed to target the Librarian.
I really don't. What are we doing?
Well anyway, that puts paid to another 3 termies, meaning I've halved the unit, so I'm not too cut up about that mistake. Charge time, and most units are so close that they can't fail. Bikes and Warlord into tacs, bikes into termies. Troop into bikes, losing 2 to Overwatch. The Solitaire charges his quarry too, taking a wound from Overwatch. I play Torments of the Fiery Pit, giving him +2 strength and attacks. The plucky troop kills a bike, and I boss my saves, losing no one in return. The solitaire doesn't have Sigorok's Rose, and is a ways from the troop master, so he doesn't have rerolls to wound. Even so, he has a monstrous 12 strength 7 attacks, and happily mulches 6 of the tacticals. Finally, the big melee's in the center. Only one tactical marine survives, and he promptly turns tail and beats a tactical retreat.
Nothing? No? Wow, tough crowd.
Even with aversion, the other bikes kill 2 more Terminators, leaving only 2 left now, and lose no one in return. Well, this first turn has been pretty catastrophic for the Marines. So much has been lost, that I don't really see a way back for them now. Let's see if they can pull it back in turn 2. The bikes fall back from the troop, as they can use some trickery to shoot and charge them again. However, their shooting proves ineffectual as I damnably make all my saves again. The veterans bundle out of the Razorback, charge the Solitaire, and slice him into little pieces. Elsewhere, the Master also bundles out, and charges my Warlord, doing 2 wounds, and the Librarian charges the nearby Skyweaver, doing 4 wounds. I lose some bikes to shooting, and possibly psychic, but not enough to worry about. The whirling melee, on the other side of the table, rages on, with us losing 1 model apiece. So, on to my turn 2. On the left, I send a unit of bikes to deal with the Inceptors, which came down last turn and shot up the other unit of bikes. Other than that, there's a small amount of shuffling around as I try to mop up the shattered enemy force. More cackling killer clowns, in space, burst forth from a transport, to threaten the veteran squad. Their Skyweaver zips off to sit on an objective. I have the Master in my sights this turn, for that sweet slay the Warlord VP. And I figure, I might as well have a crack at these here Marines, who've been sat in this tower and haven't yet warranted much of a mention. Welp, the Inceptors go down without a problem, to a combination of shards of light, hallucinogen grenade launcher, and possibly some stray haywire shots that had no other viable target. The Master also gets mullered, along with the Razorback. It explodes, taking out some of my foot-slogging Quins. The surviving players join forces with the bikes and wipe out the veterans. After some deliberation, my troop master thinks, fuck it, and charges the Libby.
Why the fuck not?
He takes 2 more wounds for his trouble, and leaves the Libby with a couple left. My troop in the tower over here gets their charge off, but a bit off more than they can chew. They kill some Marines but lose a few in return. And finally, in the latest installment of this epic standoff between 2 minor units, I continue to roll disgustingly well for my saves, and they kill a couple more bikes, evening up the tables at long last. These Quins are really hanging in there. So here's the table at the end of battle round 2. The Dark Talon is just out of shot, and I couldn't get into haywire range of it this turn. Dark Angel's turn 3. The Libby prepares to chop up my Warlord. The Dark Talon looms menacingly over my poor Shadowseer, takes aim, and turns him into a nasty old smear on the ground.
Why does it hurt so much?
The bikes also finally dispatch their mortal Quinn enemies, and the Librarian slays my Warlord. The Quins in the tower also get slaughtered. Okay, here's my turn 3 movement. We're coming to the endgame now, as my Eldari prepare to deal the death blow. I'll try to wrap up speedily. Both units of bikes position themselves so that they can shoot the Dark Talon, then assault the other 2 units, and I have a feeling the wounded Librarian isn't long for this world. Well, what do you know, I was right. 2 smites finish him off, then the Hemlock kills a few of the Marines from the tower, with its heavy D-scythes. Combined haywire from the Skyweavers mullers the Dark Talon, and sends it crashing to the ground. I then assault both units, as planned, but fail to do a single frickin' wound.
Disgusting.
Well, I guess my luck had to run out eventually, so at least it's at an inconsequential moment. We call the game there, anyway, as the Marines have hardly anything left now and can't defeat me. If by some miracle they're not tabled, I can still outscore them on objectives, so, a good first outing for my combined Eldari force. I intend to add a few bits and pieces to the Craft World side, to give me more options, but keep it as majority Harlequins. The Hemlock was brutal, although my Farseer never got him off. Fortunately he didn't really need to. So much just got frickin' melted by the Skyweavers. My opponent was blindsided by my ferocious first turn, and he would have fared better hanging back a bit more, and trying to thin me out pronto, rather than advancing the majority of his troops in turn 1. I think this was the first time he faced Harlequins, so he has gained valuable experience of their potential. Still, it was another fun battle. Well, that's all she wrote. Thanks for stopping by.